Hello, hello everyone. I am here with Kristin, and this is our 14th episode of Walking the Path. For those of you who haven't joined us before, we'll begin by talking a little bit about who we are and where we're at in life, and then jump into our topic for today. So, Kristin, welcome, and tell us a little bit about where you are at in life and what you're most excited about.
Hi, Christine. Thanks for joining me for our 14th recording of Walking the Path. It's been, like 6 or 7 weeks now since our last recording. I think that's probably the longest we've gone ever without an episode recorded. We've both had numerous workshops and traveling experiences, and yeah, life just doesn't stop the time. So here we are, 6 or 7 weeks, and I've been having a really interesting experience in the last month or so about acceptance of where I'm at and what's coming down the line, and what I think should be happening and what's actually happening. And Tanner and I just completed our 200-hour yoga teacher training certification a couple of weeks ago here in Pennsylvania at the Himalayan Institute, and it was a wonderful experience. And we've both been feeling really inspired by that experience. And now that we have a green light to be yoga instructors, that feels like a huge step, and it's really exciting. We're looking forward to incorporating that with the things we've already been sharing. And just to add in some realness, I was just sharing with Christine that our car is injured and it's at the car doctor right now. And so our plans have just been shifted by the universe a little bit because we drove across the country to come visit my family and go to the yoga course. And so our timeline's gotten a little bit scrambled, but we're doing our best to stay optimistic and know that this is all happening for reasons we maybe just can't quite understand right now. So I'm really glad to be here with you and recording another episode. I think it's important for me and probably for you and for anyone who's listening right now. So tell us about where you're at right now, Christine.
Well, as Kristin mentioned, I've also been away. I did the most recent one was a workshop in Colorado, and what I'm finding in these last number of weeks especially is just more and more gathering, which I've desired for so long. I know I did a series of videos last year just talking about what keeps us from meeting and looking at maybe any themes that would keep really powerful, amazing beings from coming together. Just themes like having to do it on your own, or having memory of not having the support, so expecting the support to continue to not be there, etc. Because in my heart, I was yearning for that. Like, what would it take? And what is arising now, what's coming to be, is where we're meeting and we're coming together tomorrow. For those of you who know about the Gene Keys, Richard Rudd, he'll be in Victoria, BC, and there's an event tomorrow that I'm attending, and a lot of people are coming together for that. It feels really big and alive and exciting to be gathering, and beginning anew, essentially, rejuvenating ourselves through our shared presence. Because there's so much we know in our hearts about what's possible and about the beauty of life and living and the magic. And as we gather with those who are willing to accept that reality as well, our hearts light up and go, we can play, finally! And, I also feel in this time, many of us are experiencing the contrast to that, right? Where and Kristin and I were talking a little bit about that, where the magic, your heart's desires, what's possible, that synchronicity is there for you and the universe is there for you. Yet you can find yourself in these realities where the people around you don't agree to that yet. They're still agreeing to life is hard, or life is chaotic, or things don't work out the way you want them to. You just have to take what you can get. And, they're still functioning from those beliefs. And if the collective agreement is more catering to those beliefs, then we kind of go, what?
Right.
So, for me, I've been really grateful in this last couple of weeks because I've got to gift more of my energy alignment, healing sessions, do my hands-on work again, really facilitating having the space of magic and bodies the nervous system's rewiring of the bodies and the cellular memory shifting so that we can welcome in more love, joy, and blessings. And so I'm infinitely grateful to have the opportunity to offer more of those sessions in addition to the stuff I've been doing online. But yeah, our topic for today is talking about that. How do we know what lives in our hearts, know what's true for us, know the magic of us and the magic of life and living, and simultaneously be aware of collective agreements around fear, life is hard, doesn't work the way you want it to, and just ways, that people have committed to settling or committed to having it hard. Apparently that's the word that keeps drilling in, like just hard. And we in our hearts know like ease, joy, glory, possibility, like exuberant, abundant expression, fun, magic, play. And when we find ourselves in those realities and we're like, cannot move in this space, what do we do? How do we be with that in a way that allows us to continue to be fueled and inspired, quote, despite the collective agreements that we're temporarily participating in?
Yeah, what comes up for me as I'm trying to find a quiet space where I am right now, and I just see that people are arriving back here and it may not remain quiet, is just acceptance. And I just stood up, as Christine probably only saw, and I was trying to move to a different spot, and then I realized this is the only spot where the internet's going to work, and I'm just going, really, what else is happening? I just asked for a little window of time for quiet, and I got a little window, but that's all I got. So yeah, acceptance. I was feeling this moment of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And I'm just like, nope, this is happening. I can hear my dad from outdoors. His voice is so loud, it comes through the windows that are closed. And all I can do is laugh about it. Christine and I were talking about this earlier, like when the last thing you probably really want to do is laugh, that's all that's left sometimes, is just laughing about it. And being waved out through the window. And yeah, so I think acceptance is often the answer. I mean, I know in the yogic teachings, that's, it all comes back to that acceptance and presence with what is. And I think a lot of misery and unhappiness and frustration comes from not accepting what's happening and wanting it to be different and fighting what's actually going on. And then there's that human created concept of time. And, we're like, how long is this going to take? How many days do I have to wait for this to come together, to be the way I want it to be, or to be in any way that feels good? And yeah, I'm getting that. I'm really getting that. And I don't know if we've ever talked about this, Christine, but I don't know if you know a lot about spirit animal guides or spirit animals, like animal totems, but Tanner and I have really been big fans of that whole methodology, or that line of belief that nature brings us signs when we need them. And we were sitting outside yesterday, having a moment of what is happening and why is this all going on. And we sat outside on the deck and we looked up at the sky, and I've never seen in my life so many vultures. We counted them. There were exactly 30 vultures swirling in this incredible pattern in circles and circles and circles right above us. And, I said to Tanner, I have a feeling that things are going perfectly right now, and we're just being told to be patient. And then these vultures showed up above us. And I said to Tanner, what do you think the message is from vulture spirit animal? And I was like, and not just one, but 30. And so he Googles it on his phone and he starts reading about it. And it was like, patience, take your time making these decisions. You're in like a holding pattern right now, literally. It was like this swirling, circular, spiraling holding pattern. And I was like, of course, 30 vultures had to come and show up to tell us that. It should have been obvious. So yeah, acceptance and patience. Patience, compassion, love, acceptance. It's what I've been having to remind myself a lot lately, because I'm in a physical location right now where I'd rather not be, but I'm here, and I'm okay. Life could always be so much worse, and that's, I think, what I need to remind myself about. What's your take on it all?
Yeah, well, the true gift is when we can be present with what is while simultaneously being aware of possibilities. I think the tendency for people is the either or, as we've been so conditioned into polarity, the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, the two-choice universe, so to speak. It's one or the other. And if we can truly be present with what is while simultaneously aware of possibility, then we can play with both of those fields because they both simultaneously exist. But when we try to, like, I just have to be where I am and just accept it in the sense of like deal with it, make it okay, or whatever. If we really sink into it, that's not acceptance. I mean, acceptance, I think what you're referring to is just, this is here. I am here, this is where I am. It's honesty. It's acknowledgement of where you are, which is so key for us to acknowledge where we are. And sometimes when we're not happy with where we are, or we're in a moment of discomfort or a period of time of discomfort, then we want to escape that into, fantasy realm, or, oh, I imagine myself on a beach and we're sipping pina coladas and everything is perfect. And, the waiter is coming by and he has no shirt on and he's really muscular. Or like, we're just like, get me out of here. And we realize that, maybe at times could benefit us, but often will almost distract. It'll take away from our capacity to act where we are, because that where we are is the moment of choice. Where we are is the moment of power. Being where we are is the now, where we can choose. And so the escape into a fantasy or another reality will separate us from where we are. So the invitation is to, how do we include what we desire, include what lives in our heart, and bridge it with where we are? How do we, yes, I am here, I am uncomfortable. As you said, if you were like, I am here, I prefer to be somewhere else, acknowledge what's true for you. And then be aware of, well, what is that I most desire? Like, what is that lives in my heart? And maybe what comes up is like community, being met, the magic, the play, the joy. And you can call out those qualities because they're desired. It lives in your heart as what you would like to have in your life. And so to bridge it and call that here, and rather than escaping here to go to a fantasy of that, it's like, I am here, I desire this, I will not use this to escape where I am, I will use this to inspire me to, have the energy or perhaps more resources to live the experience you're having, knowing that it's temporary, knowing that you're not there forever, because then the mind likes to just say, I essentially make it eternal until the emotional body gives signals of like, this, you're here forever, things will never change, And we have to remind ourselves, things are always changing. And how can we best acknowledge where we are, call in the possibilities of a greater reality that lives in our heart, and continue to bridge those to the best of our ability, and be honest in our moments when the emotional body is screaming or frustrated or having a moment of like, why me, or why this?
Mm-hmm. For sure. And I think acknowledging the emotions that come along with challenging experiences is really important, and knowing that the emotion is potentially energy that's moving through you in this time, or it could be ancestral or ancient memories or something from past lives, if you're someone who believes in that. And not being able to comprehend with our minds why these things are happening, and why am I feeling this way, and where is this all coming from, and just trying not to overthink it or overprocess that, but just allow it to come through. And I liked what you said. It's not about allowing or accepting. It's not about accepting this and going, oh, well, I guess I'm just stuck here. But it's more like, this is where I am. This is not where I'll remain. And what can I do in the meantime until there's like a tangible shift that happens, which I think is really important for me. And I was sharing with you earlier, continuing with everything that we just learned, all the amazing wisdom and all the gifts that come along with a yogic way of living, and the philosophy and the science of yoga and everything that was just shared with us. It was so much. And I think part of me is still processing all that and, you know, trying to incorporate it in this like alternate reality that I'm in, where I liked what you said, something about like, maybe not everyone's there yet in, you know, where some of us are at. And, you know, we all have different realities. We all experience every moment of life differently than everyone else does. And it's more comfortable to be around that community of people who are perhaps experiencing it in a more similar way to how we are. You know, it's almost like an agreement of like, yeah, this is what's happening, right? And when you're not really around many people that might be experiencing the world in a day-to-day format similar to the way you are, it can tend to be a little bit challenging. Although I had a funny experience this morning that was kind of refreshing, and it sounds small, but I have this piece of paper taped to the bathroom mirror where we're staying here visiting my dad, and it's a positive affirmation from a Louise Hay book. And I wrote it on a nice piece of paper and I taped it on the mirror. And I was in there maybe brushing my teeth or something, and my dad just walked by and he popped his head in and he said, "What's that paper on the mirror? Can I read it?" And I said, "Sure." And so he read it out loud, and it said something like, "I am the love and beauty of life in full expression," or something. It said something like that. And my dad's like, "I say that to myself every day anyway." And I was like, "Really? Well, that's nice, Dad," you know? And just, we kind of had a laugh. And I think partly he thinks we're really strange, but partly there was just something there. And he said, you know, I do say that every day. I said, "Well, good, because it's true about all of us, every one of us." And I said, it helps me to just have it there to remind me. I said, it's helping me through a bit of a tough time here, you know, where I don't really know what's going on. And but I feel like there was a funny, you know, relatable quality to that experience. And a few days before that, and I would call my dad someone who has very different opinions of just about everything about the reality of life that we're all living in. Him and I pretty much have polar opposite views of everything. And the other day we went to a workshop, and it was a talk about spirituality and religion and the commonalities and the differences between spirituality and religion. And when we got home, my dad said, "How was it?" And, you know, we had a little conversation about spirituality and religion, and I really felt like he got it. And, you know, those little things are good reminders to be open to things being different, even if it's just a tiny bit different. Sometimes that's enough to help you to get through that time and be like, you know what, it's not as bad as I thought. So I think there's that balance between optimism and realism, but also leaving that openness for change and growth and positive interactions and experiences where maybe they weren't there before. Because we all change and grow, even when sometimes it feels like, from an outsider's perspective, someone's not really changing or growing or opening. You know, things happen in little ways. And so it's been kind of refreshing being open to witnessing that in people that I've known for a very long time, and it's good.
That's great. And there can definitely be that tendency to make assumptions. Oh, I know this person. I know the way they are. I know how they tend to do this or that or this or that. And as we can hold that lightly and say, I wonder, what about today? What about now? And without the agenda of converting, which is that religion energy of like, you need to follow this is the right way. And if you're not, I will exclude you or withhold my love and approval. Or, you know, and we're transcending that. Many of us are going, how can we include more points of views, you know, more ways of looking at things and continue to maintain connection? You know, because so many points of views have created separation and polarized people into like, I can't be around you because you think different than I do, to I can be with you and we can think different, right? And in increasing our capacity for that difference to be included. And that's the art, you know, of creating greater inclusion, allowing for difference. And also acknowledging that the comfort in being around people who think or feel similar, because there's a, you know, I am accepted, I am loved as I am. And it's inherently true. But when we're in environments that are polarized and people separate based on ideologies or beliefs, we feel like, I'm not loved, I'm not seen, I'm not accepted based on this. And it is a confusing environment. And I think the more we just acknowledge this is confusing, then we can have more ease with it. It is very confusing when there's all these different things playing out based in belief and point of view, and and just the reality of separation, rejection, and expectation, and all of those things that in our heart we know doesn't have to be, yet it is, and it's alive and well in many people's realities. So how do we acknowledge where people are, be present with where we are, and honor life?
Absolutely. And sometimes I was just thinking of the gene keys and Richard Rudd, and I haven't been looking at the gene keys a lot because I've been so focused on yoga, but the gene keys are so fundamentally based in the whole yogic philosophy. And after this course, I've been amazed at how Richard Rudd took that and wove it all together. It's incredible. But one of my main gene keys has the shadow of confusion, and it is at peak volume right now for me. And so he says, past the shadow of confusion is the gift of imagination and creativity and originality. And so that's just a really good reminder for me right in this moment that, if things feel confusing, how can we get creative and, to take who we really are and the gifts that we have and, use our imagination to create what it is that we want to experience, even if the foundation seems less than what we would consider ideal. How can we work with what we have? How can we work with the time, space, and materials that we have to create a more positive experience for ourselves, because we're really the only ones that can do that. So thanks for whatever you just said that made me think of that and Richard Rudd. And I feel kind of sad that I'm not on the West Coast right now with you to go to that experience. And Tanner's mom's going and a bunch of our friends are going. And I greatly look forward to hearing how that goes. And for anyone, I don't know that we've talked about the gene keys in our talks very much, but for anyone that doesn't know about the gene keys, it's genekeys.com. And you can run a free profile for yourself. And you'll need to purchase a copy of Richard Rudd's book called The Gene Keys. And I know Kristin learned about it before I did, and then I got to know Kristin, and then I learned about it, and then I said, I learned about the Gene Keys, and she's like, oh yeah, I know about the Gene Keys. And it's been a really incredible tool. It's kind of a bit of a map and a set of tools without going into too much detail, but it's really beautiful. I really appreciated it, and I have a lot more learning to do with the Gene Keys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally recommend it to anyone to get your profile. It gives you 11 different keys that are predominant in your chart based on birth time and date. And it's such a gift. Often we ask, well, how can consciousness manifest, or what would total consciousness look like? And what he offers is 64 different, he calls them cities or exalted states, like 64 different potentials for how consciousness can manifest or what it could be like here. And the gift frequency, when we're manifesting at the vibration of the gift, off allowing the shadow or the fear state to be transformed into the gift, and then the city, this is all exalted state. And of course it's not linear. It just depends on what frequency we're in, that it will manifest at the shadow or the gift or the city, and or all simultaneously. And what's beautiful about it is he doesn't give a recipe with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or A, B, C, D. He really acknowledges the mystery and acknowledges that a lot of the city or that space of enlightenment is acausal. You can't cause it to happen. So it really boggles the mind, and it's such a beautiful piece. It's around 700 pages, and there's just so much wisdom in that, and it's so alive. And every time I read it, it's different. And it's like, did I read this? I read this. Like, I've read this like 5 times, this key, right? Say one of my keys in my profile, and I'm like, I've never read this. And it's just beautiful. And so definitely recommend that to everyone. And wanted to thank you all for tuning into this episode, for being here today, for being where you are as you are, and the more we acknowledge where we are and hold the field of possibilities, the more we can bridge the two. But I would say now more than ever is time to, stay strong is a strange word, but to stay as present as possible in our experience, regardless of what it is, and continue to call in the possibilities and the joy and the play, and just let go of the tendency to escape, knowing that here is the space of true power where the change can actually manifest. So thank you all for being with us today. And I wonder how it, can get better than this, what is beyond this, and how much more we can really thrive and be here with and for each other through these times of great change, I would say.
So much change, so much uncertainty, and sometimes confusion. So thank you, Kristin. I've appreciated this bridge that we've just created from East Coast to West Coast. Literally, the magic of technology and of Zoom. I'm grateful for it all and for you. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who's been watching.
Yes, we appreciate all of you.